tal amigos de Cantodea Producciones? Yo soy Diego Maaginen y el día de hoy estoy hablando con una leyenda, nadie más y nadie menos que Tilo Wolff de Lacrimosa. Tilo, how are you?
Thank you, I'm very fine, thank you. You too?
I'm doing amazing, thank you so much. So, let's get right into the nitty-gritty. You are coming on tour to Mexico this year. Now, you are presenting Leidenschaft, your most recent album, so I'd like to know, what was the process behind Leidenschaft and what was the mentality behind the creation of this album?
Well, first of all, it's actually a second part of Testimonium, our previous album. All in all, there will be 3 parts of Testimonium. That is now the second part, Leidenschaft. And the next album will be the conclusion of this. And of course, it was very difficult to record this album due to the fact of COVID. We had to, because when you record with many people like orchestras and stuff, then of course you need to be mostly together and you need to travel a lot, and that was all not possible. So the recording started, then COVID started, and we had to stop everything and had to change all our plans. In the meantime, I was listening, of course, to what we've been recording so far and some demo work I did for the album, so I could rewrite a couple of things. I'm actually very happy about this because the song, especially a song like Raubtier, got defined. I got the idea for the video and all that. So the whole situation was, of course, very painful to stop this process, but it also made the album kind of more, let's say, more a travel through emotions, because I had much more time to reflect everything and to dig deeper into this topic. And of course, Leidenschaft, passion, I mean, this is one of the most important topics of Lacrimosa's music anyway. So it was good to have this time, and I think the result of the album can tell that I think it's one of the deepest albums of Lacrimosa.
Right on, amazing. I mean, the music in the album is just absolutely mesmerizing. So kudos for that. It's an amazing album and an amazing experience, passion. And passion is something that we kind of need right now because given the recent world situation that we've just been through, music has been important, and Lacrimosa has been a very important part of many people's lives. So I'd also like to ask you, how did you deal with the pandemic, and how do you feel? What are your feelings towards going back on the road this year?
Well, first of all, of course, I also have a life besides the music, and there was a lot to do in certain matters. So the pandemic got me really. I can't understand those people. It's hard for me to understand the people that say I didn't know what to do in this time. I couldn't go to work and had nothing to do, and I hear from so many that they started some kind of hobbies or doing some games on their handies and smartphones and whatsoever. So I had pretty packed days actually during pandemic through certain reasons, and therefore this time was kind of a very stressful time in the sense of what was to do, and on the other hand, of course, it was also not so easy because we as musicians, we were those like many other people who are doing some kind of art and entertainment. We didn't count to the, how do I say them, the people that are needed. So it was, of course, a bit difficult to get through this time. And of course, still, it's not over yet. I mean, it's there are many, to talk about the music industry, there are many people in the business, concert organizers and people, technicians traveling with us on the road and so on, which dropped out of the business. Either they went bankrupt, some concert venues went bankrupt, or they just searched for other jobs where they could earn some money because they couldn't earn any money anymore with the music business. So therefore, the whole situation is pretty tight nowadays, and it probably won't come back in the same way as it was for many, many years. So this brings me to the second part of your question, which makes me very happy that it's possible to come to Mexico and to do such a big tour. It's the longest tour we ever did or ever do in Mexico so far, and yes, and I'm totally excited and happy about that. It is possible in Mexico because, to be honest, it's not possible in every country.
Absolutely. I mean, there have been many restrictions as of late, including we didn't know if Vakin or Summer Breeze or even a few shows in Mexico were going to happen, but they did, and they are happening. So thankfully, we are back on the road. Now, as you mentioned, this is Lacrimosa's biggest tour in Mexico in the entire band's history, and you are still breaking barriers. For example, you are coming to Aguascalientes for the first time. So what I want to ask you is, how do you feel about this, and do you have any expectations about this tour?
I am not a person who has a lot of expectations because of two reasons. First, our mind is so small comparing to what can happen in life, and what nobody, for example, could have imagined such a pandemic. So we if you also consider the other side, I mean, not only having expectations in a good sense, also expectations or fears in a bad sense. People have many fears of this and that, and mostly 90% of what they are afraid of is not really happening. Other things happen, maybe even worse things or better things, but what the people are afraid of, what you imagine that could happen, mostly doesn't happen. So it's actually no use to have too many positive or negative imaginations about what's coming in the future. And this, on the other side, brings me a lot of joy, because I'm always like a small child unwrapping a package, because I didn't have the expectations, so I get something and then I unpack it and I'm happy about it. And this is how I also want to live my life towards, for example, such a tour. I'm looking, of course, forward to do this tour, but I'm not expecting like, well, it could be like this or like that. I'm just like, I take every moment, and I'm looking forward to discover things that I can't even imagine. But one thing I know, you guys and we guys, we are in love, and we will fall in love over and over again when we see each other. So it's a love affair, and this is beautiful.
Indeed. You know, the connection between the audience and Lacrimosa has always been very prominent indeed. And speaking of this connection, I feel Lacrimosa has a very beautiful connection with Mexico. So I'd like to ask you, do you have any fond memories of your last travels to Mexico? You know, for example, maybe in León or in San Luis Potosí, or regarding, for example, the DVD that you recorded here?
Oh yeah, there are so many memories, of course. So strong memories and totally different memories. It starts actually with simple memories, like just walking through the streets and having something to eat, getting a snack somewhere. I remember once in Mexico City, that was really a very nice experience. We were in a diner, and outside there was a guitar player playing some songs, and suddenly he played a song from Lacrimosa, and we were sitting there and eating our stuff. It was things like that are really beautiful. I had another experience which was also very funny, where we went to a restaurant and the promoter said, no, you can't go on the street without security, and so I said, okay, now we take security with us. And we went to this restaurant, and then people saw us entering the restaurant, and at one side of the restaurant there was a big window, so the people could see us from outside, from the street. So the people ran into the restaurant, and then the security shut down the restaurant, and nobody could come to us anymore, but also not the waiter. So we didn't get anything to eat. Things like that. Really funny. And of course, then what I always remember is the audience. You know, it's really hard to describe it in words, what we feel when we are on stage towards this amazing audience. And it's just the same which city in Mexico it is. It's always nearly the same. There's so much emotion, so much love, so much. This is like a, I don't know, endless pot of emotions that is coming to us, and it's hard to describe in words, but it's so strong. It's really you can feel it even physically, and this is something amazing. And actually, when we are on stage there in Mexico, and the people are giving us so much emotions, it affects, of course, also the music, how we play it, because music is something that comes from the heart, and when the heart is, of course, open wide, and we can open our hearts towards the Mexican audience so very well, then of course the music develops also, and this makes every concert so special and unique. I heard from one girl. She bought, maybe there are also others, but I know only from her, she bought tickets for all the concerts from the entire tour. So she will find out how different we play the songs, how different the emotions might be from evening to evening. And this is thanks also to the audience always.
Absolutely. Now, as someone who has been in your audience, I can also testify that each show is very, very unique. There is a beautiful relationship between the audience and the band, and every single time that we see Lacrimosa, it's a different experience, but really beautiful, really beautiful. So I also want to ask, regarding experiences, what has your experience been working with Cantodea Producciones, since we're bringing you on 3 of these dates, which are Aguascalientes, León, and San Luis Potosí?
It's totally different than working with other promoters, because you guys are always like family. Damien, who is of course the one who is straight in contact with us, it's like family always. He treats us not like as clients, or he treats us like friends are coming, and this is totally beautiful. There are some other promoters in the world which I know since many years already, also in Germany, which are a bit the same kind of characters, but it was from the very first moment with Damien like this, and not something that had to wait for years and years and years. So when we arrived, he was straight away like, come onto my heart. And this was very beautiful, and this is how we get treated from you guys always when we are there. And I always like, you have another specialities. First, the venues are always very beautiful and extraordinary. And the second, I remember the first one with the water in front of the stage and back in the background, which the audience couldn't see, but we from the stage could see it. Of course, there was a kind of forest, and lights were shining into the trees. It was really beautiful, and and then once on the lake and whatever, and the hotels are always cool. So I'm very much looking forward to working with you guys again.
Well, Tilo, I want to thank you so much for the trust that you have put in Cantodea Producciones. We're really happy to be working with you again and bringing you to these 3 states, which are Aguascalientes, León, and San Luis Potosí. Now, I do have a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you that come from the fans. I went into some of the Lacrimosa Mexico forums, and I got some of the most interesting and burning questions your fans in Mexico have, which, by the way, they can't wait for October to come. So, I want to ask you, this one is from Jonathan. Do you have any curiosity as to how Dia de Muertos is celebrated here in Mexico?
Well, I heard a couple of things about it, of course, and saw it in movies like Spectre from James Bond and so on. And people told me about it when we were in Mexico, but still, I'm kind of a virgin in this topic. So maybe on this tour I learn a little bit more and can dig deeper into it.
Well, Tilo, I really hope that you get to experience more of Dia de Muertos since you're coming on October. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, the next question is from Maria de Los Angeles, and she asks, what is the sound that we hear sampled in Exodus? And does it have any relation with the main context of the song?
Yes, it's pretty funny because Johnny Depp just did a song about the same woman that I sampled there. It's the fabulous Austrian actress Hedy Lamarr. And this is from several interviews. She was actually not only an actress, she was a very scientific person, and actually invented a couple of things that we still use in our smartphones back then in the 20s. So she was really a special person, and also very beautiful. It's the saying, I don't know if it's true, but the saying is that that from Columbia movies, the statue, what you see in the beginning, that she was the one that was the model for it, as well as for, I don't know how it's called, and you can look it up maybe, Schneewittchen, it's called in German. It's a Disney movie, and there is also her image as a role model. So really special person. But in the end of her life, she got kind of, well, she wasn't, let's put it that way, she wasn't the most happiest person, and some people didn't respect her as a person and only saw her as a, let's say, old Hollywood diva who's only talking about old times, and made kind of fun of her sometimes. And this is so, you hear this laughter in the song, in the sample. This is so, it is so touching and so sad how people look upon the achievement of a lifetime, what people made, and only focus on maybe one or two factors, and doesn't see the entire. And as in this song, it's much about disappointment, of course, this song. I thought this is really a nice way to show how such a great person gets in a talk show, gets laughed about, and only because the people, they don't understand her and don't know what's really going on in her and why she is that depressive and whatsoever. So this is really something. I also used her already on a song before once, another, because this life kind of really, I found it pretty tragic. And I was very surprised that Johnny Depp now also did this song for Hedy Lamarr, I think it's even called, with Jeff Beck on his new album, which is a beautiful song. So this is really interesting that he also got this connection to her, because she's, of course, not in the minds of the people nowadays anymore.
Wow. That was really interesting, and really thank you so much for the deep dive into the whole context behind the sample and the song itself. Now, I have one final question. This one is from Samantha, and she asks, what is your warm-up routine prior to a concert?
There's not much. I put on some makeup, then I do some singing, high and down stuff, but not too much, and then I pray, and then I say, let's start the intro, and it starts.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Tilo. I really enjoyed talking with you. You're a very mesmerizing and interesting person, and it has been an absolute privilege having the chance to speak with you. Y amigos de Cantodea, no olviden que pueden conseguir sus boletos en www.cantodeaproducciones.com para las fechas de Lacrimosa en Aguascalientes, León y San Luis Potosí. Tilo, thank you so much, and talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.